Hello YouTube. That's the first video I'm gonna be posting. It won't be professionally edited or anything like that. Just figured I'd give a little insight into what Uruguay is like. That's where we are right now. Sorry if the camera shakes. The mount, unfortunately, it's not very good. Uruguay. People that don't know where it is, it's a tiny little country between Argentina and Brazil. Now, I came here from New York. So any Americans that are curious to know what it's like to live and work down here, I can give you my opinions on that. I have a business down here. Actually, I have the main business in New York. And I have over here what we call a back office, which I've been down here myself for a year now. It wasn't what I had planned. I had planned to just come down, take a look at the business, you know, make sure everything was being done right. But Uruguay is a country that has its quirks. Now, it's a friendly place. It's not a dangerous place. You know, being in Latin America, a lot of people might think that it's that this is a place where you really got to be careful, and that's not the case. I mean, you know, it's got some very complicated areas, but as long as you stay out of them, you know, you don't have a problem. Now, unfortunately, petty theft always, everybody knows that. You know, people go steal in places where there's stuff to steal. So yeah, you will encounter, you know, you go on vacation or something like that. In the summertime, a lot of people tend to go out to the, you know, to the beach. You know, they have beach homes. You know, I'm talking about people that are upper middle class, you know, wealthy people, that sort of thing. You know, they leave their houses unoccupied, and yeah, good chance they'll be broken into. Now, the alternative to that is to live in a private neighborhood, a gated community. There's not many of them around here. For instance, right here in Montevideo, they're illegal. You can't have a fully gated community. You can have what they call a semi-private neighborhood, which is it's basically open roads, really nice homes, and they have you know, little security booths in every corner. But you know, anybody can come and go as they please. Now that is, I'll be honest with you, it's pretty expensive to live in those places. So, you know, it's not what most people do, obviously. You know, Montevideo is a nice area. I mean, I have a theory about it. You know, there's a saying, you know, in business that it's like you never know how good something really is until you have a problem with it. You know, especially like service, you know, customer service, that sort of thing. Well, over here, the minute you have a problem and you need to get any sort of papers done quickly, or you're in a rush, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a problem. Everything here happens unbelievably slow. If you are used to the USA, you know, if you're watching this and you're in the US, this is gonna be a shock. It's quite the slow, laid-back pace down here. Now, there's a saying that people have down here when things don't go right, and everybody says, you know, it is what it is. It's what we have. You know, everybody says that. So get ready for a conformist attitude about things. You know, things over here, it's like if something functions, you know, nobody's going to try to make any changes to it, and if it doesn't function, they won't make any changes to it either. It's sort of like, you know, get used to it, deal with it. That's the way it works. Now, I don't know if you see this guy standing right here with on the right, barely got to look at him over there, with the orange vest. Those are called cuida coches. Now, parking in the street, especially where I am right now, this area has many streets that are, you have to pay to park on the street. Now, you don't have a meter like you would You know, like for instance, if you're in New York, you might go to the corner, you know, buy your little ticket, you know, stick it in your windshield, whatever you got to do. New Jersey, I know, does that too. Over here, you go into a little store and you pay. It's 35 pesos an hour, which is a little over $1, probably about $1.20 an hour. But you have these guys that are, you know, they're licensed by the city. Now, not all of them, but you know, most of them are licensed by the city. And since there was a time where there was a lot of theft to vehicles, and this country has, you know, anybody that's not familiar with it, it's a very left-wing country. So it used to be, you know, it used to lean right, and then it went left. And you know, I don't want to make this into a political discussion, but anybody that looks at the trajectory this country has taken, it will know that unemployment just skyrocketed over here. So people that couldn't find jobs, they decided to stand on the street and look after cars. And politicians, in order to make themselves look good down here, because politicians down here are not like in the U.S. I mean, over here it's sort of like you could call it a monarchy. It's always the son of the son of the son. It just keeps going like that. You won't see any new faces. But in order for them to look good and say, hey, we created jobs, they gave these guys vests and say, hey, now you work as you know, vehicle caretakers. Well, the problem with that is that, you know, you park somewhere and you pay to park, and then you got to tip them. Now, I don't want to sound cheap, you know, I know I'm a very generous tipper. I go overboard with that, but I'm just putting it out there to anybody coming down, even if it's on vacation or whatever and you rent a car, just make sure to tip these guys, because if they see you the second time, you know, your car might not be in as good of a shape as you left it. That's just how things are done down here. You know, I don't agree with it. You know, I think it's a public street. I mean, you're already paying for it. Why should you get? It's extortion. You know, why should you have to pay somebody else, you know, double tariff, because you already paid for the parking. Now you got to pay somebody else just because they're standing out there. To me, it's ridiculous. Now it'll happen to you when you get to a traffic light. Maybe not around this time, but you know, later on at night, you know, you'll see them, you know, juggling, you know, bowling pins or whatever, you know, swords, you know, all sorts of stuff. You'll see a lot of that. But anyway, let's get back to what it's like to do business down here. If you come down here with the American attitude, you'll do great. And what I mean by that is Uruguayans, and I'm saying this, listen, I was born down here. I left here as a child. I was 6 years old when I left. I'll be 40 in a couple of months. So I grew up in the U.S. If you come down here with the U.S. mentality, you'll do great, because people down here are lazy. Extremely lazy. If there's a soccer game going on, and it's a major soccer game, the whole country will stop. I mean, you just won't, nothing will happen. If it's, you know, I mean, they go on strike. There's a strike yesterday. I think there's another one coming up in a week. I mean, at least they announce them, but I mean, they strike over everything. The unions here, which they call sindicatos, God forbid you open up a business and it gets unionized. Take my advice, close shop and get the hell out if that happens, because they'll make your life miserable. Now, doing business down here in Uruguay, now it might sound attractive to say, you know what, in the US I pay somebody $2,000 a month. You know, we're going to be talking, you know, we're not going to be talking executive jobs. You know, we're talking just, you know, normal positions, not very high paying. You can say, you know, somebody in the U.S. might make $2,000 a month doing X, Y, and Z. And in Uruguay, I can hire the same person to do it for $1,000 a month. Well, here's the problem. In the long run, it costs you way more money to have somebody employed down here than it would in the U.S. See, in the U.S., you know, you have your income taxes that get taken out of your paycheck, and you have your payroll taxes, which is what the boss pretty much is paying. which is pretty much what you're paying, maybe a little less, a little more, it depends on the state. But over here it's different. See, over here when people get paid, they get paid as, they call it en la mano. What it means is, how much cash are you going to get in hand. That's how you negotiate salaries over here. So you're really not going to find somebody to do anything for $200 a month. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I've seen comments on videos on YouTube and everything that say, oh, people, you can get, for down there you can get stuff really cheap. Yeah, you can get stuff cheap, but you're not going to get quality workers. I mean, people here are lazy in general, so not everybody, obviously, but I mean, if you want a good employee, you're going to be paying for it. Now, let's say you're not paying $2,000 a month, you're only paying $1,200, $1,000. Well, here's the difference between the U.S. and Uruguay. All the taxes, income taxes, Social Security, everything that you pay in the U.S., you pay down here, right? But the difference is the boss pays 100% of it. So, depending on whether the person is single, married, has a kid, it'll range from anywhere between 30 and 36% additional. So if you're paying somebody $1,000 and it happens to be a parent and they're married, single, whatever, the range is not going to be much difference. It'll be between 30 and 36%. So you're going to be looking between $1,300, $1,360 a month. You say, all right, well, I'm saving $640. Well, no, not really. And the reason you won't be saving it is because in Uruguay, they have something called aguinaldo, which what it is sort of in July and in December, every employee gets an additional paycheck, half a paycheck. So you're pretty much hiring somebody to work for you for 12 months out of the year. They're only going to work for you 11 because over here you get mandatory 20 days vacation at a year. So they're going to be actually productive for 11 months. And listen, I'm totally fine with that. I agree with vacations. They're necessary. They increase productivity. But on top of that, you're going to be adding in the aguinaldo, which is another month's worth of salary. Half in July and half in December. So now you're getting 11 months worth of work and you're paying for 13. I'm sorry, you're paying for 14 months. The month vacation, there's no production going on over there because you're paying the salary plus another salary equal to whatever they make so that they can go on vacation. So now you're up to 14 months worth of pay. And in Uruguay, unemployment works a little bit different. See, when you fire somebody over here, now whether it's because business is doing bad or because the person is just no good for you anymore, they're not learning, they're not, whatever. You figure out, whatever reason you would have to fire somebody. I mean, something, I know as an employer, I try to avoid it at all costs. At least I do. It's not good to have a lot of rotation, not in my business. But if you need to get rid of somebody and they've been working for 1 year or anything over 3 months, at the year mark, you will owe them, like for instance, after 3 months, they will start to accumulate. And up to 1 year, to fire somebody, you will have to pay them, obviously, whatever they worked, plus whatever they've accumulated in aguinaldo. So now you're talking that to fire somebody, let's say they make those $1,000 a month, that's close to $1,360, you will have to pay them $1,360 additional to what they worked a month. You pay them the $1,360 plus an additional $1,360 plus an additional vacation pay plus their aguinaldo. So it's not like the US where you say, listen, business is bad, I'm sorry, I gotta cut you. Over here it costs you money to get rid of people. Now that might sound great to the people that say, yeah, you know what, stick it to the boss. But look at it from the other side. I don't just hire anybody down here. I am really picky about who I get. And everybody is like that. It's very difficult to get a job. And when somebody gets a job down here, they're being paid as little as possible because you acquire all these expenses. So in retrospect, to have somebody working 1 year in the U.S. will cost you, assuming you give them vacation and you pay for it, 12 months worth of salary. Well, not here. Every year will cost you 17 months worth of salary that you need to set aside. Now, the employee's not getting all 17 of them, but for the first 6 years, they accumulate these benefits that you need to have. You need to have in a bank account, because God forbid something goes wrong, they'll report you. And I mean, fortunately, I've never had to deal with that, but trust me, they'll stick it to you. See, there's a saying over here in Uruguay. It's called La Viveza Criolla, and what that means is sort of like saying how quick they are to screw you over. Now, Uruguayans are very, very friendly people. I won't doubt that. My advice to you is careful who you become friends with, because the mentality here is to screw over anybody they can. So if you're down here, if you're watching this and you're like, well, I've been down there and I've made some great friends and they've never screwed me over. Well, listen, they haven't screwed you over, maybe because they're the 2 or 3% that are just really nice people, or because they just haven't had the chance to. Because that's something that happens to everybody. I mean, it's happened to me. Everybody I speak to, it happens to them. It's just normal. It's just how business is done down here. You try to screw somebody over. And if you come down here with the U.S. mentality, of which is pretty much, you keep to yourself, you do what you got to do, you try to respect, have your boundaries respected and respect other people's boundaries, you can forget that here. It's a whole different ballgame. It's expensive to employ people down here. Another reason that it's so expensive to employ people down here is because Uruguay has these unbelievably high taxes. So anything you will go buy, you can expect to pay 2 to 3 times more than you would in the U.S. So if you're spending $100 a week on groceries, your family, whatever, I mean, it depends how much you eat, obviously, but let's just go with $100 a week in the U.S. that you'll spend on groceries. I know you're going to say, well, you don't buy much with $100. Well, over here, buying the same thing, it's going to cost you anywhere between $200 to $300, because it's 2 to 3 times as much money as it is in the U.S. Oh, we're coming up to an ANCAP. That's the gas station. Those are state-owned gas stations. See, over here, there's no such thing as private refineries. The state owns everything, so they charge whatever they want for gas. Well, gas down here is almost $7 a gallon. Now, the car we are driving in right now is it's a small car. It's a Chevy Cruze. It's got a 15-gallon gas tank. I gotta get gas pretty soon. I'm a little under a quarter tank. Probably gonna run me between $65 and $70 to fill it up. Those are the prices I was paying for my Suburban in New York, back when gas had shot up to $4 a gallon in what was it, around 2004, 2005. The gas got really expensive. Well, it's more expensive down here than it was back then in the U.S. when people were all panicking about how expensive gas is. Like I'm saying, it's almost $7 a gallon, something like $6.70 a gallon that it works out to be. Purchasing a car down here, 2 to 3 times more than you pay in the U.S. I'll give you an example. A Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, and I'm not talking about the Rubicon, I'm talking about the regular Sport, is $109,000 down here. A Rubicon, you're going to be somewhere around the $140,000 range. It sounds ridiculous for a Jeep. I mean, it's a Jeep, guys. I mean, I'm not knocking Jeeps. I had a Jeep up there. I love Jeeps. But, $109,000 for a Sport, it's ridiculous. That's what you're going to pay for it down here. So what you end up seeing is a lot of, tiny little cars that are very cheap. You're talking cars that, they're cheap cars in the U.S. Cars that in the U.S. you might see retail for $10,000. Over here they're selling for, $20, $25. Chevy Cruze I'm in, go buy one. It's almost $40,000. And I'm not talking about, a fully loaded. What do I have? I got leather seats, power windows, and that's about it. I don't even have power seats in this thing. I got a sunroof, that's the best option I got. This car in the U.S. would probably be around $17,000, $18,000 according to the GM website. to the Chevy website, this is like an $18,000 car. Over here, it's $36,000. A Camaro, a regular V8 Camaro, not the GL1, you know, for you Camaro fans and all that, not a Z28 special version, whatever. I'm talking a regular V8 Camaro. Is $100,000. So that's something that if you're gonna come down here to do business, you need to consider, because if your business requires vehicles, well, you're gonna be paying big time for them. Now, yes, if you do a business, you can buy the car and you can save some money on the taxes, but you're still gonna pay way more than you do in the US. I'll give you an example. Pickup trucks down here are the only thing that you can actually get like a business discount on them. You know, have some tax rules. So you might see a lot of business pickup trucks, and those are people that own businesses. So whenever you see a pickup truck, you're 95% sure that that guy or woman or whatever it is that's driving it owns a business. I didn't get a pickup truck because my business, I'm in the investment business, so it's not, I can't really justify that easily a truck, because the first 2 years I've only been down here for a year myself, and I didn't plan to stay, but I ended up staying. It's like you need to justify an actual use for the pickup truck. Now, if you know, if you have a bar or a restaurant, whatever, you can say, well, yeah, listen, I go pick up food with that, or beverages or whatever, you know, vegetables, you know. My business, you know, what am I going to say? I'm going to go pick up a newspaper, you know. I can't really justify it. So I don't get that. I don't get the full break. I would get a partial break. Now, down here, a pickup truck, I'm going to use brands that you can compare to things you can find in the U.S. Like, for instance, in the U.S., you have the Chevy Colorado. And what's the GM version? GMC Canyon, whatever it is. Well, over here you have the Chevrolet S10 Blazer, right? It's the same thing they sell in the U.S. as a Colorado. A couple of little different, you know, details. Maybe the headlights are a little bit different, whatever. But you know, it's pretty much a basic truck. Well, if you go pay regular price, you know, you don't own a business for it. That truck down here is about $95,000. If you have a business, you'll probably end up paying somewhere around the 67, 70 range. You know, you're gonna be in, so you're gonna save yourself at least $20,000-$25,000 you'll save. But you know, you're talking, this is like Mercedes S-Class, you know, BMW 7 Series prices for a Chevy Colorado. I mean, it's ridiculous. But that's just the way the taxes are here in Uruguay. I'm sorry, guys, if this video is shaking too much or it sounds boring. You know, I'm not like a YouTube video blogger or anything. I'm trying to give you as much information as I can, as best as I can, but you know, you gotta bear with me. I don't do this, you know. It's just I'm improvising as I go along. So I'm sorry if you guys are bored. You know, you can always click off and go watch something more interesting, which I'm sure YouTube has a lot of that. Like I said, I'm not a blogger. I'm just giving you my insight on this. And prop something under the phone to see if it shakes a little bit less. I hope that helps. Well, anyway, right now I am in Avenida Italia, which is sort of like a major road that goes from Montevideo. It'll take you out by the airport, you know, into Canelones, which is like heading east. Take a drive later on by the coast, and I'll even bring you guys to Zona America, which is where my office is at, so you guys can see that area. Now, it's you know, I have so many things that I want to say, and it's sort of like I'm getting tongue-tied because I'm trying to think, well, which point do I touch next? So, well, since we're driving, let's talk about driving here in Uruguay. I don't know if you noticed, but there's no lines on the street, and most streets don't have lines. The ones that do, they're irrelevant, because Uruguayans have this habit that they'll have, like, the driver will be in one lane and the passenger will be in another. Lines mean nothing over here. Stop signs, you'll rarely see a stop sign. So you'll get to an intersection, and good luck figuring out who goes if two cars are coming, at the same time. Now, this is, they say that whoever's on the right side gets to go first. But listen, if you're moving 30 miles an hour and you both approach the car at the same time, get ready to slam on the brake if you saw the guy at the last minute, if you happen to be on the left side and he's got the right of way. Or maybe you got the right of way, but the other guy just didn't care, because over here, driving is sort of like pretty much, do as you please, Now what time is it right now? It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. It's middle of winter, and, we're somewhere around 60, 65 degrees. So these are people going home, after work. So you're not going to see much of the normal traffic right now. But you take a drive, it'll drive you absolutely nuts. And this road is actually very good to drive on. Over here, people tend to respect a little more. You go some of the other streets, if you come in as a tourist, don't bother renting a car. I mean, that's my advice. Do not rent a car if you're coming as a tourist. First of all, you're going to pay a fortune for it. You might get something like this little Kia Picanto over here in front of us, which is unbelievably small. I mean, they're great on gas. They have to be great on gas because it's so expensive. But you'll go nuts driving. If you're used to the U.S. driving, I see all these road rage videos in the U.S., right, where somebody might veer slightly into your lane, and then the guy goes nuts and he chases him down and he's cursing at him. You can forget about that over here. People drive on the sidewalk. They don't care, And there's no such thing as I'm going to get pissed and I'm going to curse at you. It's just normal. People understand it. It's normal. You won't really see road rage down here. That's a plus, because people are used to just screwing up driving, a regular basis. They're used to being cut off. They're used to the guy in front of you just deciding to stop and park, and you're like, wait a minute, this is a driving lane, you're going to park? They're used to that. So you're not going to see a lot of people get mad over the driving, that's for sure. What you will see, though, is intersections where you don't know who goes first, and if you're not familiar with it, you're going to have a hard time. I'm a little more familiarized with it, but I've been here a year. When I first got the car, jeez, it was a bit scary coming to an intersection and you're like, who goes first? But that's just the way it is. I mean, you can look at the example here. Look what's happening with the cars. Is it 3 lanes? Is it 2 lanes? I mean, people are used to making their own lanes down here, so we'll get in what supposedly would be the middle lane, but it really isn't. This area that we're in right now, this, I guess you could say, is the north side of Carrasco. Now, you're looking ahead, so if you were to make a right, you would be heading towards the coast. You would see very, very nice homes. That's pretty much a concentration of wealth over there. This area is still very nice. You make a turn to the left, you still have a little bit of Carrasco left. But what the problem is, if you go a few blocks into the left, you have what we call I don't want to say it's canteriles, because they're not, but it's just these really terrible neighborhoods where you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there in the day. You don't want to go there at night. They're real. I'll be honest with you. They're absolute shit, those areas. That's where you go get killed. That's where you go get robbed. So you stay the hell away from that. And Uruguay is very small, so believe it or not, you could walk from the worst part of the city to the best in probably an hour. And I'm talking about walking. Not driving, not taking the bus, just a walk. And in some areas, you have these beautiful neighborhoods, and 4 blocks away is like the worst part the city has to offer. So that's something to consider if you're coming down here, whether it's to visit, vacation, or whatever. I'm going to make another video of the old city, La Ciudad Vieja. You have some beautiful architecture. Unfortunately, it's all run down. Some of them are being restored. Most of them are run down. But you will get a look into, buildings from the 1700s that are just absolutely gorgeous architecture. Now, it's very small, it's very crowded, but that, in my opinion, is it's just a gem that, unfortunately, the country has just let itself run down. It's unbelievable. And I understand where those buildings are run down. You get a lot of people remember the whole Occupy Wall Street, Occupy this, Occupy that in the U.S. Well, over here they occupy your property. I mean, you got to be careful. You go on vacation, you might come back and have somebody living there, and it'll take you a year or two to get rid of them, if you get rid of them. You know, so you have a lot of these older buildings in Ciudad Vieja that are just gorgeous, but they're run down because for the past 15 years there's been some people living in them that don't own it, don't pay rent, don't nothing. You know, I mean, you get a lot of that down here. Now, right now I'm driving towards my house. I don't live in Montevideo. I live in Canelones, which is a different department. You know, over here it's sort of like, think of it as a county in the U.S. You know, if you're in New York, think of it as, you know, you're in Nassau County. Well, I'm going to Suffolk County. Or if you're in, you know, Queens County, you're going to Nassau. You know, think of it that way. It's just a county over. Now, Canelones, I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, it sucks. And yes, I do live there. And why do I live there? Montevideo, like I was saying before, you can't have private, you know, gated communities. So Canelones, they allow it. And the peace of mind you get, knowing that you can just leave the house unlocked, go away for a month, come back, and nobody's walked in it. I mean, that is just priceless, because you can't do that anywhere else on here. And Canelones offers you that. So I'm heading home to my little private neighborhood. The only problem is, you want to buy something and you want to go out to dinner, you really don't have that many options. I mean, now yes, I know that if somebody from Uruguay who happens to watch this, they'll say, oh, he's lying, you know, you have such and such thing, and you know, you have stores all over the place. Yeah, you do, but they suck, and I will break a video showing you why they absolutely suck. I'm talking like, they're not real stores. It's like somebody just decided to put a sign in front of like this little shack and improvise something, you know. I mean, I'm sorry, but call me whatever you want. That's just, you know, I don't want to go to dinner in somebody's, you know, little shanty bullshit, you know. I put a cardboard sign saying I'm a restaurant, so come eat. Nah, I want to go to a real restaurant. Now, you won't see that where I am right now because, like I said, we're driving through Carrasco, and this is a very nice area. This is the main road that cuts through it. So, you know, we're not actually going into where the houses are at, so you can see no people live. You know, I'll take you around later on for that. This is just how the road that cuts through it is. You know, it's just like a third major thoroughfare. Like I said, this brings you to the airport. What's going on over here? Now, I'll be honest with you. Uruguay's a nice place. I plan to go back to the U.S. because I did not plan to stay here. It just happened, you know, business